ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम by his divine grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 8, Dhruva Mahārāja leaves home. So we are in the section where Dhruva has come to his mother, very severely offended. His mother gives him three upadesh. Mam amangala tata parishubham stham. My dear child, do not think anything negative about your mother. Then she says, this is the reality. Second upadesh is accepting the reality. And the third upadesh says, atishta tattata. That my dear child, please accept shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And immediately she tells him a story that just like your great grandfather, Lord Brahma, he was benedicted by the Lord with Parameshtyam, the greatest place within this universe to reside. Similarly, you should also approach Lord Brahma. So, child Dhruva, he picks up few things. He picks up that Pitamaha, and then he picks up Parameshtyam, and he picks up devotional service. His anger, his extreme intensity is now redirected by his mother towards devotional service. Tivrena bhakti yogena. Yeah, right. This is the Tivrena bhakti that we are going to see. Very, very intense form of devotional service. So we come to text 21. तथा मनुर्मयि भगवान् पितामहो यं मे कमत्या sorry पुरुदक्षिणैर्मखैः इष्टाभिपेदे दुर्वापमन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमतः पवर्ग्यम्. Translation.
Sunīti informed her son, your grandfather Swayambhu Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby, with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. Purport. The success of one's life is measured by one's material happiness in this life and liberation in the next. Such success can be achieved only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words ekamatya means concentrating one's mind on the Lord without deviation. This process of undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord is also expressed in Bhagavad Gita as Ananya Bhaka, that which is impossible to obtain from any other source is also mentioned here. Other source refers to worship of the demigods. It is especially stressed here that the opulence of Manu was due to his undeviating faithfulness in the transcendental service of the Lord. One who diverts his mind to worshipping many demigods to obtain material happiness is considered bereft of intelligence. If anyone wants even material happiness, He can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation. And persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. Hare Krishna.
Not only your great grandfather, my dear child, even your grandfather, Manu, Swayambhava Manu, he executed great sacrifice with distribution of charity, and thus, with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, the thrust here is worshipping the Supreme Lord. This is what we have done. The great achievers in our life, in our family, your great grandfather, Lord Brahma, your grandfather, Manu Swayam himself. Sorry. They were all great personalities, and they became great personalities by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by pleasing the Supreme Lord. So, only by worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Brahmaji attained the qualification to create universe, and Manu achieved the material happiness, Bhaumam Sukham, and later Apavargam. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the success in one's life is measured in the material happiness, kitna kamaya, and how much we enjoyed in this life, and after the life, it is in liberation, Ante Narayana Smriti. And for this, Ekamatya, one has to perform Tivrena Bhakti Yogena or Ananya Bhag, undeviated, undisturbed devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. Now, this kind of result is not attained by worshipping the demigods, right? Because Bhagavad Gita describes this. Antamantu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam devan devayajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mamapi. That demigods are temporary and their results, their fruits, their benedictions are also temporary, right? So sometimes there is a feeling amongst people that, when we say demigods are temporary, or Prabhupada writing about, or Bhagavad Gita even describing anything like that, people say, oh, why you are so fanatic? Everybody is good, everything should be nice. And, especially the Gen Z, kind of the spirituality that they are referring to is like everything is okay, whatever you do is okay. Yatomat tatomat, it's a different flavor kind of a thing. But here we have to understand that it is not yatomat, itatomat, just like you are preparing for IIT preparation, or you are preparing for your CA exam, or you are preparing for your NEET exam. You cannot say any class is okay, Every teacher is a good teacher. How can differentiate between teacher? Everybody is a good teacher. Every book is a good book. It is book only na overall. No, sir. If you want to crack in the IIT, if you want to crack in a college like AIMS, BJ Medical, or something like that, you have to go to the specific path, specific teachers, and the specific class. It is not that everybody is good, and so one has to be. So especially we as a devotees, we have to be convinced of this. Sometimes, so sometimes the criticism of demigod worship is not taken very nicely in the outer world. Of course, there is no, we can just show them the purports where Prabhupada is writing. Nobody can be a devotee of Lord Krishna unless they are a devotee of Lord Shiva. Those purports will never come to the fore. Or Prabhupada writes about how one never offends a demigod. But some purport like this, and sometimes even our YouTuber devotees, sometimes they just mess up for more views or something like that. They will give some sensational title. You will get the view, but you have eternally criticized Bhagavad Gita for the getting of your views, right? So here Sunīti is very clear. Sunīti says, my dear Dhruva, if you want IIT admission, you have to go to this specific class under this specific teacher. Now previously your grandfather has done this, your great grandfather has done this, and therefore you approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for even material things, right? Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So happiness in this life and apavargyam, the liberation in the next life, at the end of this life, all can be attained by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Sunīti, she is very, with great expertise, she is diverting the passion of Dhruva towards devotional service, performance of devotional service. Neither no material means, she is not saying you go to gym and make a body and like that. No. Neither karma kanda, go to the demigods and something like that. No. Directly devotional service. So this is the greatness of Sunīti. Text 22. Very, very beautiful verse. This is. We'll recite this. तमेव वत्साश्रय भृत्तवत्सलम्
तमेव वत्साश्रयभृत्सवत्सलम्
मुमुक्षुभिर्मृग्य यदाब्जबद्धतिम्
मुमुक्षुभिर्मृग्य पदब्जपदब्बितम्
अनन्यभावे निजधर्मभाविते
अनन्यभावे निजधर्मभाविते
मनस्वस्थाप्य भजस्व पूरुषम्
मनसि अवस्थाप्य भजस्व पुरुषम्.
Translation.
Translation. My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation. Just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. Purport. The system of Bhakti Yoga described by Queen Kunti to her son is the standard way of God realization. Everyone can continue in his constitutional occupational duties and at the same time keep the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. This was also instructed by Lord himself to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Go on fighting, but keep me within your mind. That should be the motto of every honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Queen Sunīti advised her son that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhaktavatsala, which indicates that he is very kind to his devotees. She said, "You came to me crying, having been insulted by your stepmother, but I am unable to do any good for you. But Krishna is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him, then the combined kindness of millions of mothers like me will be surpassed by his affectionate and tender dealings. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotees." Queen Sunīti also stressed that the process of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy, but is sought after by great sages who are very advanced in spiritual realization. Queen Sunīti also indicated that her instruction that Dhruva Mahārāja was only a small child, 5 years old, and it was not possible for him to purify himself by the way of karma kanda, but by the process of bhakti yoga. Even a child less than 5 years old or anyone of any age can be purified. That is the special significance of bhakti yoga. Therefore, she advised him not to accept the worship of the demigods or any other process, but simply to take to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the result would be all perfection. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. Hare Krishna.
Very amazing words. So now, Dhruva, you should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tameva vatsa shraya bhritya vatsalam. That my dear son, oh Vatsa. Look at the words, huh? Very beautiful words. This is Vatsa is the very, very specific Vatsalya here. Tameva vatsa shraya bhritya vatsalam. Take shelter of that Supreme Lord who is Bhritya Vatsala, who is extremely kind to his own surrendered devotees. And he is the personality, Mumukshubhir, those who are looking for the mukti, Mrugya Padabja Paddhatim. That he is the personality who is always sought after by the great personalities. Ananya bhave nijadharma bhavite. Ananya bhave ekanta bhavse nijadharma bhavite. Right? Considering your original constitutional position, manasi avasthapya bhajasva purusham. This is how you should focus your mind and heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in devotional service. This is the instruction by Sunīti. Look at the condition. They both are crying, both are devastated. And this kind of faith that Sunīti has, right? And then 5-year-old child, and then, such an angry child who is completely broken, who, is like, there is a lot of vengeance within him, and he's going to go to the forest also now. And look at the, the faith the mother has, and the faith Dhruva has in mother has in devotional service, and the process of devotional service. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, the system of Bhakti Yoga, which the queen is instructing her son, is the standard way of self-realization and God realization. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagata. So, millions of people have followed this process. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta, they got purified and they have returned back home, back to Godhead. So what is the process? Sthane sthita, continue with your activities, occupational duties, and at the same time, keep the Supreme Lord in your heart. Like Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ma manusmara yudhyacha. You have to fight Arjuna. Sometimes there is a wrong understanding within the devotees that, and I was also part of that understanding for a very, very long time. That I will somehow do my material activity, kuch to jugaad karke, somehow I will make my both ends meet, or something like that, and I will do very intense devotional service. Most likely this is not going to work. That somehow we will do material activity, because last 25-30 years of counseling, we have seen this. I have seen it in my own personal life. We have seen in the lives of devotees. In the midlife crisis will come up, and devotees, unless we contribute which is fitting to our position and what remuneration we are taking from the company, even the process of devotional service also will not look very attractive. So when we are in that age group of say 20, typically 24 to 54, 55, one has to be a highly contributing member of the society. Right. One has to. So Prabhupada writes here, everyone can continue his constitutional occupational duties. Right. And at the same time, keep the Supreme Lord within his heart. Just like the Pandavas is the classical example. Pandavas, they were very intense warriors. And at the same time, they were very intense devotees. But by the virtue of their becoming intense devotees, they never became less intense warrior. Right. We can see this in the life of Srila Prabhupada also. That Prabhupada, as a businessman, he was furiously struggling. Prabhupada used to travel from Kolkata to Madras. Look at if you just imagine on the map, India map, from where to where, that too with class 3 dabba of the Indian Railways. And Prabhupada had many realizations when he was working for the day's pharmacy and, his previous job, and then next his own, this thing. Extremely hardworking. So, that on the material occupational duties, varnashrama duties, one has to be highly contributing in the realm of varnashrama duty. And at the same time, one has to keep ma manusmara yudhyacha, if one is a grahastha. Of course, if one is a brahmachari or one is a, some different order, vanaprastha, then dynamics will be different. But here queen is grahastha, and, she is instructing her child in the similar way. Prabhupada says the motto of every person should be honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. This should be the motto. Go on fighting and keep me within your mind. Why? Because the Lord is called Bhritya Vatsala. He is very kind to his devotees. Right? So Krishna is so kind to his devotees. Mother is saying, my dear child, if you go to Krishna, the tenderness, the vatsalyata Krishna will bestow upon you cannot be equated to millions of mothers like me, and his vatsalyata will surpass all my affection and all my tender dealings towards you. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help his devotee. And therefore, my dear son, you have this unprecedented misery, and for your unprecedented misery, you need unprecedented solution. And that unprecedented solution is surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tameva vatsashraya bhritya vatsalam. That your grandfather has done this, your great grandfather has done this. By doing this, your great grandfather created universe. Your father, he achieved great fame, glory, all material happiness, and apavarga at the end. And my dear son, you also do the same thing. Dhruva was a small child. And here Prabhupada explains that for him, Karma Kanda was out of questions. Jnana Kanda was out of questions. Right? But Bhakti is so sublime. Sometimes people think, oh, if you cannot do Karma Kanda, if you don't have money, if you cannot do Jnana Kanda, then you do Bhakti. No. Bhakti is very deceptively sublime. It is the highest, and at the same time, it is the most sublime path. And it is complete in itself. Right? So this is the glory of devotional service. And Prabhupada says, what is Bhakti? Essentially, Bhakti means keeping Krishna in one's own heart. And as soon as one places the Lord within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. There is a beautiful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says that whenever you remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, automatically, you will the dushkaram sukaram bhavet. Whatever is very, very dushkara will become very easy to do. And if one forget Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is whatever is very easy will become very difficult to conduct or to perform. So keeping Krishna in the heart is the most important part of any endeavor, even the material endeavors. And this is the instruction of Mother Sunīti to child. Text 23. Now she says, my dear child, no one else is capable of what Supreme Lord can do. Okay. Again, very beautiful verse. We'll recite this one also. Nanyam tata padma palashalochanat.
Nanyam tata padma palashalochanat.
Dukkhaschidam te mrugayami kanchana.
Dukkhaschidam te mrugayani kanchana.
Yo mrugyate hastagruhita padmaya.
Yo mrugyate hastagruhita padmaya.
Shriyetarayanga vimrugyamanaya.
Shriyetarayanga vimrugyamanaya.
Translation.
My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. Purport. Sunīti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result. But actually, that is not a fact. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction, since a spirit soul is eternal. It is also said in Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Sunīti told her son that he should not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mitigate his misery. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his different potencies and specifically the goddess of fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulences seek the pleasure or mercy of the goddess of fortune. Even the highly placed demigods worship the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes to the worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the goddess of fortune. At this stage of his life, Dhruva Mahārāja was seeking material opulences, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences, it is better to worship not the demigods but the Supreme Lord. Although a pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association with the Supreme Lord. Thus, he becomes free from all material desires and is elevated to the platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised to the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Sunīti, the mother of Dhruva, was a Parsing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and not no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus-eyed, Padma Palasha Lochanat. When a person is fatigued, if he sees a lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Similarly, when an aggrieved person sees the lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately all his grief is reduced. A lotus flower is also an insignia in the hand of Lord Viṣṇu as well as in the hand of Goddess of Fortune. The worshippers of the Goddess of Fortune and Lord Viṣṇu together are certainly very opulent in all respects, even in material life. The Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Virinchi Nutanam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan.
Yeah. Now, Sunīti is concluding her Upadesh and she's saying Nanyam. So there are two parts of Upadesh. One part is approach the Supreme Lord and don't approach anybody else. Nanyam tatah padma palashalochanat dukkhas chidam te mrugayami kanchana. Like, when you want to tell something, Harer Nama, iva kevalam. You do Harer Nam, Kalau in Kali Yuga. Nastaiva gatiranyata. So there is a positive confirmation and negative negation that there is nothing else. Nanyam tat padma palashalochanat. That my dear Dhruva, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Lord, whose eyes are like Padma Palashalochanat. His eyes are like the lotus petal, it's himself, Aravindaksha, right? You may think that you may approach demigods, but the demigods, for their fortune, they worship Mother Lakshmi, and this Mother Lakshmi, always having Padma in her hand, is always thinking how to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shriyai Itarai Anga Vimugramanaya. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there is a difference between worshipping the Supreme Lord and the Devata. Right? What is the difference? The first thing is that the Devatas are temporary. They are great personalities. Many of them are pure devotees. But the positions that they are holding, that is temporary. And therefore, when Devata is temporary, the benediction given by Devata is also temporary. Just like somebody appoints you in a company as a manager, and you say that, I'm a general manager of this company. But when the company is dissolved, your position as a general manager is also dissolved. Right? Similarly, at every Manvantara, there are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. And every Manvantara, when one Manu's Karyakar, the reign is over, and the second Manu takes over, all the demigods' posts are vanished. All the demigods are also vanished. They will take another birth, they will come back to Godhead based on their own this thing. So, the benedictions given by the demigods, they are temporary. And because they are temporary, those who are seeking such temporary benefits are called as less intelligent. And Bhagavad Gita is very clear about this. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedhasam devan deva yoyanti. Sometimes people feel, you do anything, everything is okay, anything is okay. Yato mat tatopat, everything ultimately is just the same. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say like that. Bhagavad Gita says if you sit in if you sit in a plane going to Chicago, you will go to Chicago. If you sit in a plane going to Karachi, you will go to Karachi. And wherever your plane you are sitting in, that's where the plane will go to. Correct. Bhagavad Gita very clearly says that. What is that verse which talks about this? That wherever you worship, that.
ये तमाम प्रपद्यन्ते.
No, that is not that one. Okay. I am also not remembering. We'll see. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that Bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajunopima. What is the first line?
Yanti deva vratan yanti pitrun yanti.
Thank you, Mataji. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrun yanti pitruvrataha. Bhutani yanti bhuteja. Very clearly Bhagavad Gita says. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that you do anything and everything is okay. If you worship Devata, you will go to that specific abode of Devata, which will be dismantled at the end of Manu's period, because Devata's life is maximum Manvantara. Yanti Devavrata Devan, Pitrun Yanti Pitruvrataha. If you worship the Pitaras, you will go to Pitrulok. Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja. If you worship the ghosts and the Bhutas, you will go to the Bhutlok. Yanti Madhya Janopimam. And if you worship me, you will come back to me. So Prabhupada says this is a very dangerous propaganda, saying that anything is okay, everything is okay, God has no form, God is Nirakar, Nirvishesh, and whatever you do, it is, just whitewashing everything else. Mother Sunīti has ultimate good in her mind for her son, and she is very clear what her son should be doing. Prabhupada explains, sorry, one more minute we'll take. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Lord through the agency of Lakshmi, Shri, right? Lakshmi. She is the goddess of fortune, and many such thousands of goddesses of fortune are standing in line to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chintamani prakarasadma sukalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhir abhimalayantam Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, Lakshmi, Sahastra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam. They are looking for the opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore, my dear Dhruva, you approach the Supreme Lord. Next, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the difference between worshipping the Supreme Lord and worshipping Devata. By worshipping Devata, at best one may get the result very quickly. The result is temporary, but in the process, you will not become purified. So now something very important here is, we should work not for exactly what we get, but this is, modern times, many thought leaders are talking about this. When you are working, what you are becoming is far more important than what you are getting. Right? What you are becoming when you are working. So in the process of devotional service, when one is becoming devotee of the Supreme Lord, one is getting purified. But there is not a single example of a personality who becomes a devotee of the demigods and the purification takes place. He will achieve what they want, but they will not be purified. For example, Ravana. For example, Hiranyakashipu. And there are many such millions of examples. This is the difference between worshipping Devata and worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One will become free from all material contamination and elevated to the platform of pure devotional service, pure spiritual life. Sunīti, Prabhupada writes, was a far-seeing woman, and therefore she advised, worship the Supreme Lord. So she says, who is Padma Palashalochanat. Now you are fatigued, my dear son. You are fatigued by the harsh words of your mother. And then by the austerity also you may be fatigued, but always keep this Padma Palashalochanat, the beautiful face of the Supreme Lord, in your hands, in your mind and in your heart. And thus you will be able to achieve unimaginable. So both Supreme Lord also carries Padma, and Shriya, Mahalakshmi also carries Padma, and the great personalities like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they also offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, and therefore the best course of action for you is become devotee or become Hare Krishna devotee. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Pranam.